airport. I met a couple at the Mar Vista Farmers Market last week, and they had 4 kids that lived at the end of that runway. Those kids, and a UCLA pediatrician study did a health impact report. Those kids, my daughters, the kids in that area, are going to have increased incidence of asthma. They're going to have decreased lung function. They're going to have lower IQ scores. So there's no question the jets have to go. The question is, what can we do? Well, one thing we can do is continue to support Santa Monica in its fight against the FAA to get rid of the jets. And I'm proud to say I've done that. It's an issue I've worked on the Mar Vista Community Council. I helped draft a brief and submit a brief for the concerned residents against airport pollution and for the Mar Vista Community Council supporting Santa Monica in its fight to get rid of the jets. The second thing we can do, and probably the most effective thing we can do, is put pressure on the FAA to ban the jets. Oh, darn, I'm not going to get to my other question. Ted has laid some good groundwork by calling on the FAA to do studies about it. I'd take it one step further. I'd hold oversight hearings in Virginia's house. There's a woman who lives at the end of the runway, if she'd let me. And I'd lobby our congressional representatives. I'm in a unique position to do this with Congressman Waxman's support and the relationships I've got in that office. And that's really the way that we're going to get rid of the jets in the Santa Monica airport. And I'll answer well, here. So in terms of the jobs, we need to streamline regulations and permitting in California to make it easier for businesses. And for the film industry and a lot of other industries, we need to have tax incentives. This is a map of the tax incentives for film industries, for the film industry in other parts of the country. We can't compete when other states are doing this.
James Lau. What can I do for you?
21 and 18.
21 first and 18. 21. What measures would you take to assure that offshore oil drilling accidents along the California coast can be prevented? 18 is about single-payer universal health care bill. It's already passed the state Senate and assemblies twice. It's been vetoed by Governor Schwarzenegger. Would you support a single-payer universal health care bill for California?
I'm a lifelong environmentalist. I studied and received my Bachelor of Science degree in environmental engineering, and I currently head up one of California's largest nonprofit environmental groups. And this is all because I do have a passion for wanting to make sure that the catastrophe that's happening out in the Gulf of Mexico does not happen here. We all know, just coming back from Memorial Day, that many people visit our beaches. And just imagine if anything like that were to happen here, it would just devastate our local economy, not to mention our beaches and our habitat. That's why I do have a strong record in actually working on these issues and knowing how to go about tackling this issue. We do need to move away from oil. We need to start to develop a more expansive mass transit system. I'm one that actually takes mass transit throughout Los Angeles, so I have first-hand experience how that works. But we need to have a much more expansive system. I actually have a white paper that's over here that talks about how we go from our dependence on oil and off of that, because we do need to get off of that. And this ties into the health aspect of it. And I've been a big supporter of SB 810 as well as 840, its previous incarnations. Not only am I supportive, but I've actually worked on healthcare related issues. And it's because I've seen, as an environmental advocate, the impacts the environment has had on children and adults. That's why, working for this children's organization, we were successful in covering more children with health insurance so they can see doctors. These are two fundamental policies that need to be passed, and each time it's been rejected. And a large part of that is because of the corporate interests that are blocking this. We need to get out the corporate money that's in this policy process. The BPs, the Halliburtons, who are largely responsible for what's going on, and who are also involved in this campaign. I heavily denounce all this attacks that have taken place, and I've taken the clean campaign pledge, and we should keep the voters. We should have the voters decide who should get elected. Thank you.
All right, that was the Q&A segment. Very efficiently done. Applause to all candidates. And so now we have 1 minute closing statements. Once again, random drawing. Lisa Ann Green will be the first to give a closing statement. Just stay right there in the interest of time. It's getting a little hot up here.
These lamps are not green at all.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you to the rest of the candidates for being here. I am Lisa Green of the Green Party, easy to remember in November. I'm actually here because I want to get us back in balance. I'm not afraid to, step outside the norm and help change behavior. I have a 20-year history of going into chaos and helping people find what they do best and helping redirect things and get us back on track using measurable results, and we can do it together. I'm not afraid to step outside the norm, like I said. So please consider me in November. One thing I'd like to take a moment while I have is Prop 14. I'd like to ask you to vote no on Prop 14. Limits voter choice, protects incumbents. It's not the way it's being played out by the LA Times and LA Weekly. You won't have candidates like me, and I think I'm a really good candidate after June. So please preserve my parties and other parties and give yourself the voter choice you deserve. Don't make money more important in elections. This is Lisa Green. See you in November.
And another candidate who we'll see in November, Nathan Mintz, the Republican.
Thank you, Brian. So basically, here's what it comes down to, is that we have a number of tough choices we have to make this year. And depending on how we set the ship of state, we may go crashing into the iceberg, or we may go into safer waters. What got me off the couch in February was an understanding that on the right, we were dealing with bailouts of the super rich and large corporations and banks, and on the left, we had centralization of power in powerful employee unions and other special interests. That's what caused me to form the South Bay Tea Party, which now has 2,000 members. We're representing a third way, the way of the American people. Return to limited government, return to fiscal responsibility. That's exactly what we need in Sacramento. We need to feel empowered again. We need to feel like our government actually works. We need to remove those barriers to make the private sector work in terms of this tax me, sue me, regulate me culture that we're stuck in the mud in. And that's why I'm here. I'm Nathan Mintz, and I'll see you in November. Thank you.
Peter Thottam, Democrat.
Are you sick of feeling powerless? I know you are. Follow the money. Follow the money. I'm Peter Thottam, a 100% self-financed and 100% anti-lobbyist attorney, business, and family man focused on changing the status quo. Things are upside down in California. The Thottam campaign team is focused on job creation, protecting Social Security, cutting healthcare costs, reforming our out-of-control traffic fine, tax, and legal systems. The campaign has been endorsed by 4 Democratic clubs, 4 regional Democratic clubs, Congressman Dennis Kucinich, and many other progressives. We're spending zero corporate money, over $70,000 of my personal life savings, to help you take back your government. And if you want someone who will stand up every day and fight for you, who's really on your side, and not the side of the special interests, please choose Peter Thottam for State Assembly when you vote Tuesday, June 8th. Thank you very much.
Nick Karno, Democrat.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for coming out. This is so hard to do in minute time to talk about these issues. I encourage everybody to go to our websites and read our literature. I know that when I started thinking about running, this was over about a year ago, and they were talking about laying off about 170 people from my office, both prosecutors and support staff. Knowing what that's going to mean to victims of domestic violence, knowing what that's going to mean to the communities in which we work so hard to protect, I knew that I couldn't sit on the sidelines. And I've spent a lifetime in public service. Each and every one of my policy ideas come from experiences that I've had, whether it's moving the mentally ill and homeless out of our courts. I've handled those cases. Whether I talk about a teacher's Bill of Rights, I handled being in the classroom feeling unbelievably unsupported. And whether it's talking about any of the environmental issues, that's from my own personal experience having worked in grassroots environmental causes. I believe that we need legislators who have actual experience working in the very areas that they're going to be writing laws about. So I hope to have your vote, and please come visit my table and my website when we're all done. Thank you.
Betsy.